Good evening, viewers. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Today, we are sharing a profile of a personality. She has worked hard in her life. She is chartered surveyor, but she has also responsibility as a president of Soroptimist International of Sheffield. Sally Kendall, welcome, Sally.
Thank you.
Please tell us, our viewer, about your early days and your education.
I was born in Sheffield. I attended school in Sheffield, and then I went on to university in Nottingham, where I did a joint honours degree in geography and geology. Then I came out of university, and as many people do, I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life, except I knew I didn't want to teach. So I started to study to be a chartered surveyor, but that was after my degree, so I had to do it by correspondence from the University of Reading, which meant working during the day and then studying during the evening for the qualification, and then taking not the first exams and the second exams, but just the direct exam, the final exam at the end of it.
So when you decided to become a chartered surveyor, have you ever thought before in your childhood or in early days that you will ever become a chartered surveyor?
No. I didn't. I don't think as a child you know what jobs exist out there other than the obvious jobs like dentist or a doctor that you know that go on, but you don't know all the different jobs that there are in the world. And obviously at school you get careers advice, and at university you get careers advice. But like in many things in life, you fall into it. Something happens and you fall into it. Because
chartered surveying is a very male-dominated profession. So have you ever faced any challenges when you are serving as a chartered surveyor?
It's less so now. It was when I first started male-dominated. But then I did a male-dominated degree because I did geology, and that was predominantly men. So I was quite used to being in a male environment. As a woman chartered surveyor, I don't think I experienced a great deal of discrimination, other than that it was more difficult to get higher up in my day. I think it's probably easier now, but originally women really weren't looked at as partners of firms, but that has changed in more recent times.
So after qualifying, which firm you joined as a chartered surveyor?
I joined a firm that at the time was called Eden Lockwood and Riddle in Sheffield. It's now been abbreviated to ELR, and I worked with them ever since, which wasn't terribly ambitious, but it suited my lifestyle.
So what kind of responsibility you have done? You have done mostly commercial properties, residential?
No, I did residential. It was residential property. I mainly stayed on the agency side in terms of buying and selling property and dealing with people, negotiating.
At the moment, property market is very competitive, and if a new buyer is buying a house, so what kind of survey you will recommend for our viewers?
I would always recommend a full survey for anybody buying a house, not just a building society survey, but a full proper survey, structural survey.
For our viewers' ease, so when we will say full survey or complete survey, so what covers full survey?
It's a full survey is not something that I would do. It is actually a specialist subject, not a chartered surveying subject. You would have to get a different sort of surveyor to do it, but it would look at the fabric of the building and recommend various things that might be wrong or things that might go wrong in the future. A lot of the surveys in the past were very superficial and really weren't worth the paper they were written on. And also gave a valuation which isn't terribly important. And it is important, but it's not as important as the structure.
So looking at the people's earning, especially in present age, middle-class families are struggling to buy houses. So do you think the government should introduce that there should be flexibility in planning and building regulations?
No, I believe in a free market. I think the market should sort itself out. I don't believe in government interference in the property market.
But when I'm saying about this question, I'll rephrase my question that government should introduce a flexible regime for the building regulation and for the planning permission, so people can extend their property, they can add some more rooms, because at the moment, middle-class families are unable to afford the bigger houses.
Well, they can already. They have relaxed the planning rules, so people can build, often without planning permission, extensions to their houses.
So if we'll talk, when you qualified in early days of your qualification and present days, Is there any difference about the building regulation and planning?
Yes, I think building regulation is probably tighter than it was, but planning regulation is easier. So it is easier to, as I say, to build an extension than it was earlier on when I first qualified.
So you have spent a lot of time during your education in Nottingham. So
Well, 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
So how you compare life in Nottingham and life in Sheffield?
Well, it was a long time ago. I mean, it was in the early 70s, so it's I couldn't really say because life was, you know, I've been in Sheffield since 1973, so it's only a short window of Nottingham that I had.
So what is your recommendation for the people, especially youngsters who want to pursue their career to become a chartered surveyor? So what kind of subjects they should choose and what kind of books they should study and what kind of research they should concentrate on?
Well, chartered surveying is not just one single discipline. It covers a multitude of disciplines. There's quantity surveying, there's general practice surveying, there's rural surveying, there's mineral surveying. There's a great variety of different types of surveying as a chartered surveyor. I was a general practice surveyor. So you've got to really think about what type of surveying you want to do. The best experience really is to be with somebody who is one and go and work with them and see whether it's the sort of thing that you would want to do.
So it means for the students, it's the best they should have some work experience with
they should, yes.
Practicing professionals,
Yeah.
and then they should decide whether they want to do it or not.
That's right, yeah, yeah.
You have also experienced a lot of experience working with tribunal. So what is your role working with tribunal and what duties you have to perform?
Well, I currently work with what we call the first tier tribunal. It was originally a property tribunal, but we have been subsumed into the judiciary over the last couple of years. So we're part of the first tier tribunal property division. The work hasn't changed in that, and the sort of work that I do is lease extensions and property enfranchisement. So if you wanted to buy your lease and you came to your landlord and your landlord freeholder didn't want to agree what the terms were, you could then go to tribunal for the tribunal to agree the terms. And other matters would be things like service charges. You know, if you lived in a block of flats and there was a query about the service charge, then again you could go to tribunal. And we also have a very antiquated system of fair rents, which date back to the Housing Act of the late 80s. And they are still with us, and some people are still paying fair rents. And again, that is a tribunal possibility to determine what the fair rent should be. And there is also a right to buy. Council tenants living in property have a right to buy. But there are certain criteria that the government have laid down where they can't actually purchase. And we, again, adjudicate in that instance.
Present government is introducing a lot of cuts in benefit system. So will this affect the people who are interested to purchase their council houses? And what do you think about, especially for the poor families?
I don't know, because it's not that side of things that we get involved in, so I couldn't honestly say what effect that's going to have. I can tell you that the judiciary are increasing their charges to apply to the tribunal, so that might have an effect on people's ability to get justice, if you like.
And a lot of freehold companies and the property management companies, when solicitors serve the notice of assignment or a transfer of a property or a mortgage or remortgage, sometimes they want to charge extra money. They say it's their admin charge, but lease says you can charge only £5, £10, £25. So is there any remedy for the tenants that they want to challenge this, that they should only charge what is written in the lease?
Technically, it's what is written in the lease is what happens. It's difficult to challenge what is written in the lease.
But sometimes they charge extra money, so it means if they are charging extra money, so it can be challenged?
That could be challenged, yes. Yes, that could be challenged.
And now we move forward towards your role, especially about your charitable work and especially with your club. So what are your main duties as a president of your club?
As a president of Strat Optimist International, the club is part of the Yorkshire region, which is in turn part of the Great Britain and Ireland region federation, which is in turn part of the global federation of Soroptimist International. So we're just one small club in total. And in the whole world, in the international scene, there are 80,000 Soroptimists in 139 countries. And we have representation on the UN, so which sort of puts us apart from other women's organisations, because we have a voice on the UN and we sit on committees on the UN that deal with women's issues. So as president of the club, I have the role of choosing for the club the charity for the year. So we raise funds for a charity that I choose, and this year I have chosen Cavendish Cancer Care in Sheffield, which is a locally run organisation which receives no funding from government and helps people with diagnosis of cancer. And so people can ring them if they have a diagnosis, and within 4 days they are seen and it is free to them. And they get counselling and various treatments like reflexology and massage, just to help them mentally with the diagnosis. Not medical treatments, but to help them mentally with the diagnosis.
So how many members you have in your club at the moment?
We have 40 members in the club. We are quite an elderly club. We started in 1927. And a lot of our members, I'm thankful to say, are extremely loyal to the club. So many have been in many, many years, and hence a lot of them are quite elderly. In fact, a quarter of our membership is over 80. But that's not to say that they're not active. They are. They still help in whatever way they can. But
so,
obviously, go on, sorry.
So how the new members, sorry, you can continue and then we can ask for the next question.
We have very few newer members. It's like any service organisation. We call ourselves a service organisation. So in that respect, we're a little bit like Rotary, although we're nothing to do with Rotary, but they're a service organisation as well. And a lot of these organisations, for whatever reason we can't fathom, are finding it difficult to recruit younger and indeed more members. So whether I can't believe that people don't want to volunteer anymore or don't want to help, because I'm sure they do, but they don't want to be part of organisations doing it somehow.
Because now you are in our show, so you can also invite new members.
Absolutely,
so the
yes.
young ladies and the girls who are watching this, how they can join your club and what is the procedure for this?
Just ring me or just email me. We have a website and we have a Facebook page. Soroptimist Sheffield is a Facebook page. So all you've got to do is to contact me via the website or by the Facebook page. It's probably, I don't know, I think people that are working nowadays, I think probably find everything very pressurised and more so maybe than when I was first working, and therefore they may not have time to do additional things in their spare time. Perhaps they don't have much spare time.
Are you working any international projects at the moment or in future?
We have, I mean, SIGB has an international project which is just finished, which was called the Big Project, which was birthing in Gambia. And through that project, we've raised over £160,000 to help women in the Gambia with childbirth. So we've opened new clinics and bought scanners. So that's quite a big international project. Gambia is bizarrely part of our SIGB Federation. The SIGB Federation has 29 countries in it. Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, South Africa are all part of our federation. That's come to an end, so we now need to decide what the next project will be. And there are 3 projects up before us, which we will decide at the Glasgow conference next month, which I'm going to. And those 3 projects all are in Africa. I think 2 are in Malawi and 1's in Kenya. So the members will decide at the conference which one they're going to choose, and then we will work to support that project for the next 4 years and raise money.
So there are a lot of countries where especially girls and ladies are under oppression or in difficult, and especially
Absolutely.
also
Yes.
they
Yes.
have difficulties to access to education,
Yes.
access to justice.
Yes.
So what do you think, or what you can pledge that your club or your, I will say, sister bodies can work, because internationally this club is working with also with the UN.
That's
so
right.
What will be your recommendations?
Well, we can pressurise via the UN. We can pressurise in our own communities. We can pressurise governments to help girls in these countries. It's difficult. It's a long job, but we've got to start somewhere, and that's what we're doing. I mean, last year we supported an organisation called Stop the Traffic, which is an organisation to do with trafficking, which is the biggest growing illegal activity in the world, and it was just raising awareness of trafficking. I think since then, I mean, it has very much come to the fore in the public's mind, and we now support an organisation in Sheffield called the Snowdrop Project, which helps girls that have been trafficked to get back into life in Britain.
Recently, a lot of refugees are coming from Syria.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of children, and especially women, who have suffered a lot of violence, a lot of difficult situation. Even they have seen a lot of, I will say, tragic scenes.
Yes.
So, have you ever thought that in Sheffield or in surrounding area, your club should have some kind of clinics or some kind of help for those victims?
It would be a good idea, but I don't think they've actually come through to us as yet. I haven't seen it. I've heard of any refugees in Sheffield. Maybe there are. I don't know. But it's not something that's been flagged up on our radar as yet. But certainly, if there were, then we would certainly help.
So, what is your message for our viewers who are watching this show today?
I would like them, if they're female, to consider Sir Optimist International. Whether you could support us. Join us, but support us in our endeavours, and hopefully make a better world, not just for women, but for people in general.
And any charity you want to support in coming days and coming years, where you will say, this is the charity which is very close to my heart, I want to help with this charity?
There are a lot. There are a lot. It's very difficult to just bring out one particular charity. There are just so many needy causes. As I say, my charity this year is Cavendish Cancer Care, but next year, the next president will choose something else. So we work accordingly.
Sally, thank you for joining, and
You're
it was a
welcome.
pleasure to have you in my show.
Thank you very much.
Viewers, I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Keep watching Sheffield Live TV.